What's up guys, it's Nishan Sensei here. I have 2 black belts in Shotokan Karate, and in today's video we are going to focus on learning different karate stances in Shotokan. So if you're ready, let's get right into it. Alright, so I know in the cat tutorial a couple days ago I did talk a bit about them, but I decided to make a video dedicated to just stances to explain more about them. So in future kata videos I post or tutorials, that you guys know what stance and how to properly do it. But that's also the big purpose for today's video. Alright, so the first stance I'm gonna show you guys is called Zen Kutsudachi. Zen Kutsudachi. Zen Kutsudachi. Alright, so Zen Kutsudachi, basically what it means is Zen means front, Kutsu means to bend, and Dachi means stance. So Zen Kutsudachi basically means front stance, where you're here and your front knee is the one that's bent. Your back leg, there's pretty much there's no bending it, or it can bend very little, but not all the way, because that's a different stance, which I'm going to talk about a bit later. So with Zen Kutsudachi, basically, if you were to start with your feet shoulder width, see, they're shoulder width, and this is part of another stance I'm going to cover later. If you were to just move, so in this case, I want my right leg to be back in the Zen Kutsudachi front stance. So I'm just going to move that one back. So it's about here where your Zen Kutsudachi should be. So basically in Zen Kutsudachi, in the front stance, okay, you have almost all your weight on your front leg, and your back leg, the width is either your shoulder height or slightly wider. So that's your Zen Kutsudachi right there. Now from the side, it will be like this. Here, there, and now that. Right? So again, the main takeaway from this stance is really bend your front knee. And another point I need to say is, in order to have a Zen Kutsudachi or front stance that's properly bent, you want to ask yourself. So when you're bending your front knee, you want to ask yourself, am I able to see my feet or pretty much my toes at all? And from here, and actually anyone can do that if they just bend down. What I'm saying, from here, from where you're on the stance, if you were to just move your eyeballs down, if you can't see your toes, if the answer is no, you can't see your toes, then that means you are bending your knee enough. So I am, so that's why I can't see them. But if you're on states here, where it's here, this, and then the answer is yes, I can't see my toes, then your Zen Kutsudachi, it's not wrong, but it needs to be bent a little more. Because that's the main thing, you really don't want to be able to see your toes, right? And when moving, the last thing we're going to talk about is when moving in Zen Kutsudachi, you really want to make sure that if you want to move to another one, you want to make sure you're pushing your weight forward. And that's not just with this one, this is with a couple of the other stances which I'm going to talk about very soon. So Zen Kutsudachi, see, you really don't want to shake your knee when you go forward. That's one big common mistake I used to make before I was black belt. So you really want to push, and look, my feet are about the width of my shoulders. This is how you want your Zen Kutsudachi to be. And make sure, even when you're stepping back, because you want the same thing, alright? And again, make sure your height is barely to not even changing. So here, like that. If it goes a little bit like that, try not to do something like this. That is not what you want. So just here, like that. So that is how to do a Zen Kutsudachi, aka a front stance. The second stance we're going to cover is called Kibadachi, Kibadachi, Kibadachi. So with Kibadachi, Ki means to ride and Ba means horse. and dachi obviously means stance. So kibadachi is basically horse riding stance, or in not just karate and a few other martial arts, it's just horse stance. Because it's the stance for horse stance, it's literally like how you'd be sitting on a horse. Yeehaw! Alright, anyway, but so basically how to do a kibadachi, I'm going to explain quickly. I explained Zenkutsu Dachi very detailed because that's kind of like, it is pretty much the first stance we do learn in like white belt, like front stance, and that's what we have in like pretty much every kata except probably one or two. But anyway, so with kibadachi, basically what you want is you want your feet to be a bit wide, like a bit wider than shoulder width. Now from here, and you want your feet in line and parallel, alright? Now from here, you're gonna bend down, and when you're bending your knees, do not do this, right? Do not bend it forward and make them go in. This is not a horse stance, or this is not a kibadachi. That's like some weird kibadachi, but so basically what you wanna do is, as you're dropping down, you wanna keep your back straight, you want your knees to bend and point out as much as you can, like this. See? That is a kibadachi horse stance. And again, you want your feet facing directly forward. One common mistake that a lot of lower belts make when do kibadachi is this. They point it out. Now this is basically a type of kibadachi, but it does kind of change to another stance called shikodachi. Shikodachi is literally horse stance. That's another stance I'm covering, where your feet are pointing out like that. But with kibadachi, you want your feet pointing directly forward, knees are nice and bent, pointing at 45 here. And that's basically the thing with the horse, with kibadachi horse stance. Like this, and here's from the back, and here's from the side. See all the way? That's basically what you want to do, right? And when moving forward in it, basically what you're gonna do is to move forward, you're gonna turn this out, and knees come together, and that's basically how you're moving. So yeah, that's kibadachi and shikodachi. So the third stance I'm gonna show you guys is kokutsudachi. 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 So very quickly, just like with Zenkutsudachi, it's basically the same. So kokutsudachi is basically the opposite of Zenkutsudachi. So in kokutsu, ko means back, and just like Zenkutsu, the kutsu means to bend, and dachi obviously means stance again. So kokutsudachi basically means back stance, or stance where your back leg has the most weight bent. And so basically, how to do kokutsudachi is, so if you were to just take your kibadachi here like that. Now, if you turn this, your left foot this way, that foot facing completely forward, and slightly having it a bit less bent, and having majority of your weight on the back leg, this right here is your kokutsudachi, right? Or the easiest way to do it is just, so you're doing here, move it a little bit past this shoulder here, and bend your back leg. So basically what you want in your kokutsudachi is you want your back leg to have 70% of the weight and the front to have 30% of the weight. So meaning that the back leg has more than majority of the weight on it. So just like that, right? So just like in front stance it's forward, but in back stance it's back, right? And now from this view, this is what it would look like. Now from here, and now from the back. So another last thing I need to tell you about kokutsudachi is that your heels are in line, alright? Make sure, one big thing is, a lot of people will not have their heels in line, and then they do something like this, and this makes it look like it's like some front stance, on a 45 with your back facing the opposite way. But no, you want your heels to be exactly in line. And one really good drill to do this is just imagine a line on the floor. Place both your heels on it. Now form your kokusudachi like I explained a while ago, and make sure you're moving your heels only along that line. And now, as you can see my heels are exactly in line. And if I want to move in kokusudachi, I basically want to push all my weight forward, right? Like that. That is your kokusudachi. Like that. Right? Alright, the next stance I'm gonna show you guys is called Fudo Dachi. Fudo Dachi. Fudo Dachi. So with Fudo Dachi, the easiest way I can explain it is basically it's a combination of a front stance and a horse stance. So let me show you. So if you just start in your horse stance here, and then you keep your knees bent, I know it's kind of difficult, and you just move your front foot to make it like the same width as if you were in a front stance, and now you put equal weight on like both knees. This is literally your Fudo Dachi right here. See, you're doing a front stance along with a horse stance, like that. That's basically what you're doing, and it's basically Fudo basically means kind of like not to move, like so not to move stance. So basically, this stance means immovable stance, and it is a very strong stance, like because you have your knees bent and you're in a front stance, and it's really hard to like move as much. That's why it's called a movable stance, and it is found in katas like Sochin, where you start off like that. See, I'm in a horse stance and a front stance at the same time. So it's also called Sochin Dachi because it is like the only. Sochin is like one of the only katas. It's a black belt kata where the only stance you're in is Fudo Dachi the whole time except for you do two kokusudachi. But anyway, to move in Fudo Dachi, so it's kind of like how I explained before. You're pushing right forward, and from there it's just you want to make sure. Just think of it as if you're moving in front stance, but make sure your back foot is facing all the way to the side, and also your back leg is bent as well, like that. So that's your Fudo immovable Dachi stance. Alright, the next stance we're going to look at is Yoi Dachi. Yoi Dachi. Yoi Dachi. So with Yoi Dachi, it's not going to take long to explain this. It's basically where you're making strong fists and your hands are dropped down, like kind of right in front of your hips, a little bit in front, and your feet are shoulder width. And this stance is used at the beginning of every kata except for, as far as I know, Teki Shodan, and also Basai Dai. Other than that, you do it in tournaments. It's like done before every kata. Stand here, and then next you go into what's called Mitsubi Dachi. So Mitsubi Dachi is another stance I'm explaining now. Basically, where your heels are touching, like literally touching, but your feet are pointing outwards. So they're kind of facing on like a 60-degree angle. So it makes like a V shape. And your legs are completely touching together. You bow, name your kata, whatever, and then you move into Yoi Dachi. And Yoi Dachi means ready stance, right? Because you're ready for the kata. Right, the second last stance we're going to look at is called Kosa Dachi. Kosa Dachi. Kosa Dachi. So Kosa means crossed and Dachi means stance. So Kosa Dachi is basically cross-legged stance. And in Shotokan, as far as in my dojo, we actually call it a hook stance because it kind of looks like your feet are like almost hooked together like this. So if you do Kosa Dachi, basically if you were in your yoi here, what you do is you turn your leg. I'm just going to show with the right leg forward. So you turn your right foot on kind of like on a 45 approximately. Then you take your back foot and you place the toes of your back foot right behind the heel of your front leg. And then from there, once you have this, you just gotta bend it a little bit So, and also another thing is make sure your knees are in line. Don't have one in front, don't have one at the back. See, look, they're in line, right? And this is used in a few katas, you know, like Shiohai, Jion, Gankaku, and also MP. So again, make sure your front foot is facing on 45. The toes of your back foot are right behind the heel of the front, and then from there, if you have both legs straight, you're just gonna bend it down, making sure they're in line. So if you were to place a hand in front of both knees should be touching that hand there, right? So that's your kosadechi. And you see there's no gap. Like this would be a gap, but in kosadechi there's no gap. And so that's your hook stance or cross-legged stance, kosadechi. All right, the second last, that one, yeah, was the second last, but the second last stance we're gonna cover is Nikawashi Dachi. Nikawashi Dachi. Nikawashi Dachi. So Nikawashi Dachi means cat stance, because that stance literally looks like a cat like on its feet and paws. So basically what you're gonna start with, you're gonna kind of have like a high, like the highest front stance possible with your. So you basically want like the toes of your back foot to be slightly like behind in line of the heel of your front, and from there you're gonna bend your back knee as much as possible, and you're gonna raise your front knee. I mean, you're gonna raise your front foot so that you're only on your toes. That's your cat stance there. See, like all my weight is on the back leg. None of it is on the front. And that's really takeaway. And you want to be as light as you can on the toes here, right? And that's your Nikawashi Dachi cat stance. And it's found in katas like Seisan, Shiohai, Unsu. Yeah, it's there a lot. There and yeah. So that's your Nikawashi Dachi. And the back foot is facing on a 45, and front is just facing forward. And again, all the weight is on your back, knee bent, and no weight on the front. Alright, and the very last stance, it's one of my favorite stances to do, and it's there in some specific katas, like Shiohai and Gankaku, and actually Gankaku is the name of this last stance. It is called Gankaku Dachi. Gankaku Dachi. Gankaku Dachi. So Gankaku Dachi literally translates to crane stance. Gankaku means crane, Dachi means stance. So it means crane stance. So you can have it here or here. So basically, the easiest way, it's a very easy stance, but it requires a lot of balance as well, just like Nikawashi and Kosa Dachi. So basically with the Gankaku Dachi, just start by having just like a high front stance, the highest one possible. Again, just like I explained with Nikawashi Dachi, your back, the toes of your back foot are like almost in line with the heel of your front. And now from there, lift the back leg, like bend it, and hook the foot around like the little crease of like the back knee. So like here. And see, there should be no gap, and your knees facing forward, not out to the side, forward. And you can slightly bend your front leg. Whoops, I'm almost losing balance here. For more balance. Keep it stable. That's your Gankaku Dachi here. And it's in the kata Gankaku. You have it 4 times. You go here, here, and then you come, like I explained in my tutorial a couple days ago. And in Shiohai, you do it like this, where the heel of this leg in front, bent one, is right in front on top of your knee, like this. So Gankaku Dachi can be done like this or like that. This foot is staying exactly where it is. It's just this back one or front one, whatever it is. That. Alright guys, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys really learned the difference between these stances, and now you guys will know what I'm talking about in my previous kata tutorial and my future ones coming out soon. So, see you in my next video.